Hey YouTube, and thank you for watching Junkworks
Well,
DIY
here's
Garage.
my next big purchase from my mom here. It's the Smart Eco 27 hot water heater. It's a tankless hot water heater. There's a lot of ifs, ands, buts, and different stories about how good, bad, or otherwise these things are, but for the most part it seems like people are pretty happy with them. And from the videos and some of the things I've read as far as the bad ones, a lot of it has to do with filtration of the water. And if you don't have a filter going in before this system, it'll get sediment inside just like your regular tank will, only these tanks are only, yay big, so they don't take much sediment before they're going to clog up or have problems, and then you'll heat things up and ruin your heat elements. So for that part, I think I'm going to take my chances. It's about the same price on Amazon as an okay sized hot water tanked heater. For a while these were just ridiculously expensive, but they've actually come down quite a bit. I got this one for less than $500 on Amazon. Although, yet again, I will say the prices go up and down, so just kind of keep an eye on the price. I looked one day, it was over 500, and then I looked a couple days later, it was 400 and something. Close to 500, but it wasn't, it was below 500. Free shipping, all that stuff on Amazon, at least to where I am. And so I thought I'd pull the trigger on it and take my chances. So I thought I'd go ahead, and although I'm not filming everything in the apartment out there, I thought this might be something that a lot of people might be interested in. Now, forewarning, couple things. If you do this yourself, it appears that the Smart company will not take care of their warranty, but I've also heard both ways about that as well. That if you can show you did a good enough job and did what was supposed to be done, they will take care of things. But we'll see. That's that'll come down the road if I have any problems with it. Second thing, I am no expert. This not only has plumbing involved with it, but it also has high amounts of electrical involved with it. And so, if you're not comfortable doing either one of those things, have this installed by a professional. I am no professional. I don't claim to be. I'm just a DIYer doing it myself with, what I believe is enough knowledge for me to get it done. And in that case, I am not responsible if you hurt yourself or your equipment doing what I'm about to show you. If you don't like the way I'm doing something, definitely don't do it. And yet again, I'm not responsible. So take it as it is. Hopefully everything goes well for both of us. There it is. It was kind of like flipped over upside down in the box here, so I don't know if I opened the wrong side or what, but regardless, it was pretty easy to get out. It came packaged in a plastic bag as well, and there's the instructions. So that is what you are looking at getting if you get the Eco 27. So now I'm just kind of looking at it to see how far the wires go in here and all that kind of stuff. The first thing you're going to do is flip through that, and that'll pretty much tell you what you need to know for installation and what you need to know for maintenance and all that kind of stuff.
I have it mounted on the wall where it's going to wind up in the end or thereabouts. And when I went to pull these off, just to kind of see what was under them, a puff of air came out, so be careful that way. There is some pressure in here, which also gives me good hope that it won't leak, because it appears that they do pressure test these, and they pressure test them and put these on, pump air into them, and obviously make sure they don't leak anywhere. And then when I pulled this off, it still had pressure in it, so it should still be in good shape through shipping and all. But regardless, I know this is where my electrical and my hot and cold are going to go in at. Now, I may have switched these around because I already took them off, so I want to make sure cold and hot, which I did switch them. So be careful you don't do that. Now, right now, I just got a couple of screws in the top. It does say a minimum 1-inch screw should be used to hold this up. So you decide what you want to use, because it doesn't come with hardware. Now I need to see what I need to hook to this. Now there are kits and things you can buy to put these together, and I still haven't figured out what the, quite honestly, cheapest way to go is for me. But you want to be careful. You want to make sure you have shutoffs and things in the proper places, because at some point you will have to get into this and take it out. Something else we figured out, putting this in a cabinet the way we're going to do it, the cabinet that's going to be here, we're actually going to physically have to cut the top of the cabinet out to be able to service the coils in this, because we won't have enough height between it. So that's something you got to think about, is where you're putting this thing. And we really don't have anywhere else to put it but in a cabinet right here, for not only the purposes of it's a pretty good place for it, it's out of the way, it's kind of unused space the way we're designing this. This would be just kind of a wasted cabinet anyway, because you really couldn't get to it that well. And so this is where we want to be. Plus for running lines and all the water's in this wall pretty much. So it just makes life a lot easier. But you need to decide those kind of things, obviously, for what we're getting this done. Some of you eagle-eyed people might notice that these are changed. Well, I'm using PEX pipe that I used in my house, just parts and pieces that I had left over. And then I had to go buy another piece, and I was thinking hot water by red. Unfortunately, what I didn't realize or think about is that my 3/4 inch that's coming in is the cold water, and that feeds this, goes through here, heats it up, brings it out through here, which is hot, and shoots it out through the wall. So yes, I just, because of the parts and pieces I was using and the fact I bought red instead of blue, switched these around. Just in my head everything was red and blue, and it shouldn't have been. Well, it should have been, but yet again, using parts and pieces I already have. I will mark these so that I know not to touch things or what to do. I'm going to be the one working on it. If not, I'll make sure they're marked well if somebody else ends up working on it down the road. But in all actuality, I should have made this piece red here, which I still might cut that off and make that red, but I'm not going to go buy a 5-foot chunk of 3/4 blue just for the sake of having it. So alright, so we have it going, water coming in. Yet again, none of this is ideal. I'm working with what was already here, coming out of the ground, and where the wall was already built, going across here. So that is what he left me. Like, it looks like a outside sprinkler system hose of some sort that they use to bring the water from the house over to here. Then I hooked onto that with this piece of flex pipe right here, have my shut off, and then it's coming up and over to the filter. Never mind some of this stuff over here, that's going out to my garage. I don't need to filter a lot of my garage water, so that's why I'm not bothering making this part over here go through the filter. So in your normal situation, you'd be coming out of whatever proper hose that should be coming out into your system, feeding to this water filter. Yet again, make sure it's a sediment filter. Over, down, this one goes out yet again to some other stuff, and over this way, up this way, which brings us back to the front here, which comes up over and feeds the cold water into the tank. Filtered cold water into the tank. Now these valves right here, now I could have maybe made a setup like this, but quite honestly, by the time I would have bought everything I needed to make a setup like this, it was cheaper to go to Amazon. I will hopefully be able to put the price I paid at the time for these down on the screen below, and these will allow me to also clean it out,
clean out, flush out the system. They also have shutoffs on them, so you can, let's see what, there we go, shutoffs and on, shut off and on, a little bit sticky, but regardless, these aren't completely, totally reefed on and set up right, but you can choose what you want to do. With such a small area that I'm working inside of, I needed to get as small amounts of things. If I would have added this piece here and then added a regular shutoff and then tried to add something to flush it out, I might have had a little bit less money, but not by much, and I would have had a big fandangle of stuff here. So I went with this kit, yet again, price below. Water goes in, cold water does its thing, comes out, hot water goes out to whatever sinks and tubs and showers that you have.
I'm trying to figure out kind of a way to film this, but as you can see, I got a wall here, and there's my box. There's less than a couple feet, which I know is illegal, but I didn't do this one. This one here, nothing in front of it. This wall, it's on this side of that wall. So, and here's what you need. This is 8-2 wire, and the 2 can be deceiving to some people. There's actually 3 wires. 2 wires that carry power and 1 ground. So you need to make sure you have that. And you need 3 of these, all going to that machine, along with 3 of these. The dual pole 40 amp breakers. You're going to need 3 of these. This is where the wires are coming down through, going into the top, going down here, and this is what you wind up with hanging out if you do it wrong. I'll explain that later. Alright, so here's these ones right here. They're coming out. I've taken the sheath off. I will try and film that for you. I'm just showing you kind of what I'm doing in the box here, so if you can't see everything, you'll kind of know the idea and gist of what I'm doing. Here's where this comes down, and these come over and into here. Your neutral, which is white, so it's not neutral here. I'm going to have to wrap some red tape around that. I should have done that by now, or some something to that extent, because I need to have these marked for my inspector. So I will put some red tape kind of going along here, and then your black one you can just put right in, and these both go into your 40 amp breaker. Then your ground, if you're stupid like me and did this last thing and did everything just right and decided, oh, this is pretty big wire, so I'm going to just use my big loppers to cut these off. I have big wire cutters. So I went in here and I kind of figured out about where it was going to be and lopped off a little bit more. Well, yet again, and I've done this in the past, it happens. Unfortunately, the last thing you're doing, you just kind of run out of talent. At least I do. Anyway, took the rest of the wire nutted it inside the box here, and bring the ground around here up and into the box here, or into the ground here. I don't know. Like I said, last thing I'm doing, brain's just not working real good. Anyhow, so we have a ground. Now, as far as that, you needed to figure that out for yourself. As far as legality, in my state, it is fine. At least right now it is. So hopefully by the time they're able to come and do inspections, that is all okie dokie as well. You'll know, because at the end of this I will tell you whether or not all this passed, because I won't be using it until after the inspection's done. So that is the gist. You got the 2 hot wires going into your 40 amp breaker. Well, 40 amp breaker, because this is 100 amp, but that's 40 amp breaker going into there. Then your ground going over up where you ground your stuff to. So let's just try and film this, and we'll see what happens. Here. Now on this, see what where you're seeing it here. There's a ground in the middle, so I just bring this down the middle. There's as many different ways of doing this as there are opinions about how to do it, but that is how I'm doing it. I know they make certain cutters and stuff that
do it all perfectly. Keep your hand above your cut here. You can hold it to some extent, but when you get to that feeling where, oh, if it slips, I'm going to cut myself, go up above it, hold on to it. It's a little bit harder, but not too bad. Just try not to cut into your other stuff. And that, for all intents and purposes, will come apart. Klein cutters here, and you want to take about, I don't know, 3/8 of an inch, I believe is what it says. Some breakers actually say what you need on them, but you just kind of start getting the feeling of things. And then I take the actual cutters and go just deep enough to make a mark until I kind of start, you can kind of feel when it stops. And then take the end of it here, pull that off. You don't want to be cutting into your copper here, because you'll lose your wire size, so you don't want to be doing that. And that is going to go into the breaker. Once again, you're not going to be able to see all that. I kind of showed you what I was talking about. I'm going to do the same thing with the black one here and stick that in the breaker. I'm going to wire nut. Also need to check your sizes and legalities. These actually are specific to the job. So we're going to wire nut that and bring the ground all the way around. Hopefully, if you're smarter than I was, you'll remember not to cut it off short. You'll leave it totally long. Do what I just did. Then only cut these two here, not your ground. We are officially getting ready to put the hot water heater in. And as you can see, we got the cupboards up. And this is my plan for function over form here. We are going to pretty much use this cabinet up to put the hot water heater in. Now this is going to change depending on where you're putting it, obviously, but this is how I'm getting it in here, and I'll show you. I'm just going to go ahead and put it up on the wall, same as I had it last time you saw it. Screw it all up there, and then I'll kind of show you all the doodads and thingamajigs that I have here. First thing we got here is the bottom of it here. Now I got the cold water intake. And for these fittings that I'm using, that I got off Amazon, if I haven't already put prices and places, I'll put that down below. If I already have, I probably won't. Yet again, this is a few months later since the last shot I did, so bear with me on those things. But I got this piece right here, which adapts this size to the bigger size that I need for the fittings that are in the closet there. So I'm going to stick that on. Now I'm using this T+2 kind of a pipe dope stuff, and I have not had one leak since I started using this stuff. So much better than Teflon tape. Now I will say it does tell you to use Teflon tape because they don't want a lot of the things like this to go up inside and clog things up, so I am being very careful. And also this stuff it doesn't harden up like some of the other stuff, so it should go through without any problems if there is a little tiny bit here or there. Also, that is where I say I'm not responsible if you do something I do. If you don't like the way I'm doing it, don't do it. So there's that. We're going to put this on here. I'm just going to snug it up. You don't want to reef on any of these fittings too awful much. If I had a way to get a wrench on that, I probably would, but I don't because it's too big of a piece here, and I don't have a wrench that big that's that skinny. So quite honestly, I'm just carefully reefing on this. Plus, actually, this is being held by the casing. It goes down into the casing and it's cut around that, so that should be holding it pretty good. But be careful. Alright, I'm going to call that good. Yet again, anything leaks a little bit, I can always snug it up. If I tighten it too much and break it, then we're done. So, this one I'm leaving alone because it is actually the size of this piece. And then the one, let's see here, yeah, the one on this actually adapts up to the size of the one in the cabinet there. So this, I need to figure out what direction I need everything here. So that's going to be there. So this needs to be, when I'm done, like that. So let's hope and pray that I can get that. Now I'm not putting the stuff on, I'm just kind of figuring out. So if I go all the way in, that's about it. So I'm going to go ahead and put the Alright, I just messed up. I need to put stuff in here. I forgot that I didn't do these fittings yet either, so I got to pull this off. And quite honestly, I did not even take a tool to put that on. I just put that on hand tight pretty much. So once again, I'll have to redo that. This stuff gets everywhere and it doesn't dry out, so it gets all over everything. So have a rag handy. Now I need to undo this because I pretty much don't have that in there yet to the end, and I need to do this, which so I'm going to go ahead and put some pipe dope on there, put this back together the way it goes, and I'll be back when I'm back where I was. Alright, I got this sitting in here, and I'm going to try and mount it and see if I can get the wires up in here. It's definitely higher than I was thinking it was going to be, but in between there you don't put the pipe dope in these here. They got this little gasket that goes in these ones, so we're gonna carefully have to pull that, make sure that gets in there, and hold things while we screw things. Do not. Alright, well, shucks, friggin' arguing. Yet again. When you spend a long time in between doing one thing to another, you forget the order in which things should happen. So because I'm using PEX here, this blow-off valve that's going down through the wall and down into the drain there, I have to somehow get that in first because I can't get up far enough. Nope. Alright, so I'm going to have to kind of fandangle this in here. Okay, that's on there now. Now we got the PEX on. Now we're going to go back to hooking these up. I'm going to level this up by eye pretty much here. And then I'm going to hope I can get my screw gun in here and screw one in. I may have to go get a longer bit, but that'll kind of hold it for now. And do the same thing on this side, slightly down. And snug all this stuff up where I can get to it easier. Now, I want to make sure we can do the shut-off valves without interfering with other things. Also, I actually remember I want these actually kind of out a little bit because I need to be able to get into these to flush the system out. That's what these are for. So, I'm hoping this is big enough. I can't remember if this was big enough, and it's not. So. Well, we got it all in. I actually did cut the hole right there because to get this off I needed to get some screws. There's 2 screws in the top, 2 screws in the bottom. I think I showed that to you before. We got all this hooked up. The water is actually turned on. No leaks. We are not hooked up to power yet. Now you want to run, let this open up, and then you want to run your hot water for a while and let all the air bubbles and everything clear out of the system that you can. So that's what I'm doing here, and I've been running it for quite a while and haven't noticed any bubbles yet. So at first there was a pretty good sized ones, but now it's calmed down. So I do think I'm going to let that heat up. We're going to go ahead and electrify it, and hopefully we'll have hot water. We got our cold water coming in, and yet again, yes, I know this is red, but we're ignoring that. This part's blue at least.
And I know this is blue, but we're ignoring that. This is red here, so we're going by what the handles are. Cold water coming in, goes up through. You got your 3 heating elements. I believe only maybe 2 at a time, maybe even only 1 work for a while, and then if it needs it, it kicks on another one and kicks on another one. That goes through there, comes down, and goes to all your hot stuff right there. Actually, right there. This right here is a blow-off valve. If something goes wrong in here, hopefully this will kick open and let the water out. Hopefully down into the drain that's going to be there. At least mostly. So, hopefully we won't have any problems. Honestly, I think that's more for a gas situation. I'm not even sure if this is made for an electrical one, but it was the whole kit. That's how it came, so that's how I'm using it. You'll have to do your own research on that one, but that is how that basically works. It is now time to start throwing some electrical up. I made sure I don't have any power coming in here. We're going to strip these wires and start hooking them up inside here. So here we are with electrical. I got the ground here. I'm going to bring that over. I'm going to kind of give it a bit of a bend and come straight up somewhere in there. That way the rest of them can kind of follow and go up that way. Go ahead and break something. Alright, so I'm going to give it a little bit of extra there and cut her off. Go to the first one here, not the one that obviously has one in it already, but the first one that's open. And stick her on in there. Simple as that. I wouldn't let it poke out too much. These wires aren't going to be moving around, but in case you get in there, you don't want to catch the tip of that with one and puncture a wire or scrape yourself. Make that good and snug. Alright, and like I said, I'm doing one of these at a time so that I don't get mixed up in your colors or anything here. So that one is going to this one, so I want to put this one on this one. So I'm going to work from this way over. I'm going to do the same thing with the wires. The ground this way over, the wires this way over. So I got red and I got black. Both of these have 240 going into them. I'm going to put my white one where the red one is and my black one where the black one is, just out of simplicity there for me. Then we need to cut these ones off too, so give yourself a little bit of extra. Probably bring it this way and up. So mark it with my thumb and finger here. The nerve-wracking part, because you screw this up and you got one chance, because worst case scenario, you cut something too short, you could probably wire nut it in here, but these are pretty thick to be wire nutting together. And yet again, same as I've been doing. I kind of already showed you how I strip these wires. I just kind of go till I feel it. Try not to cut into any of the wires. And this one takes a standard screwdriver here. Pull those out. Get my head in there. Shove it up in there. That's moving a bit, so I would hold on to that when you're snugging it. And I'm going to double check that they did their job as well, because I don't trust them. And that's good and snug there. So I'm going to go through, I'm going to put the black one here. I'm going to strip one of these. White, black, white, black. I don't know exactly where that ended up cutting off at here, but I went ahead and put these in, cut them to size, put them in. I put the black one where the black one is, and this white, normally neutral, where the red one is. And I went ahead and put some red tape around that, just for identification purposes. So
I put the ground in here. I've started doing another one, realized I don't know if it got filmed correctly, so I'm going to keep doing the same thing. White wrapped with red going to red, black to black, same thing with this one. And I'm just doing them one at a time so that I don't mix up this ground with one of these. Now I know that this second ground will also go to these second 2 blocks, and the third ground goes with these third blocks. Just for identification, just so I know what's going on, and hopefully if there's somebody else that's working on it after me, they'll know what's going on as well. Well, YouTube, it's all buttoned up and ready to go. I have tested it, and I had turned it on. You turn this up and down for whatever temperature you want. If you want it off, you turn it off or on. Really simple. Set it, forget it. All said and done, I've tested it. It actually warmed up the water really quick. We don't have very long lines going between here, so your mileage might vary based on how long it takes to warm your water up. But it was super quick to the bathroom behind this wall. So there it be. Alright, thanks for watching Junkworks DIY Garage, where I'm proud to say I'm a jack of all and master of none. You all have a good one.